As America nested itself into the Gilded Age of the late 1800s, an increase in popularity of pop culture and entertainment along with the rise of the middle class led to the growth of sports, one of the biggest industries of the nation to this day. Sports were considered hedonistic and vulgar in the early 19th century, but as people began accepting the idea of leisure and entertainment, the popularity of this industry grew at an exponential rate. Popular sports such as boxing, basketball, baseball, and football helped bring this industry to the spotlight of the media as sports news made headlines on national newspapers and were buried into America's basic identity. Boxing originally came to America from Britain in the late 1700s and took roots in many major cities such as New York and Boston, where Irish and English fighters, deprived of opportunities in their homeland, came to the U.S. to find success. While the sport was illegal during the early 1800s, it found support in the latter half of the century in the muscular Christianity movement, which viewed sports as a way of increasing both physical and moral strength. At first, the sport adapted the rules of bare-knuckle boxing, which was done without the use of boxing gloves or padding on their hands. Bare-knuckle boxing was then replaced by the Queensberry rules in 1889 with the purpose of making the sport more fair to its competitors. These rules saw the introduction of padded boxing gloves, weight classes, and a rule making it illegal for fighters from striking a man who was knocked down. The sport also generated some early icons, such as John L. Sullivan and Jim Gentleman Corbett, two of the greatest fighters in boxing history. These were the pioneers of early boxing, establishing techniques and concepts that are still used in the sport to this day. They were specifically known for having a legendary battle on September 7th of 1892, where Corbett formally defeated Sullivan and ended his 10-year reign as heavyweight champion. Overall, the success of both of these fighters led to the popularity of sports journalism, allowing many sports to be featured on the headlines of magazines and newspapers, and set a precedent for international coverage of boxing media. The long winters of New England restricted the leisurely activities of most people during the late 1800s. Looking to replace the conventional boring activities practiced during the time, James Naismith of the International Young Men's Christian Association Training School, present-day Springfield College, invented basketball. While drawing inspiration from a variety of sports such as soccer, football, and field hockey, and at the same time eliminating physical contact, Naismith came up with the present-day basketball, along with its 13 rules for the game. The first official college basketball game was played on January 18, 1896, between the University of Iowa and the University of Chicago. Scoring 15-12, the University of Chicago was victorious. Originally, basketball didn't receive the same amount of attention compared to football or baseball, and it took the sport over half a century to be nationally broadcasted in 1963. The sport later gained popularity in the 1980s. Since then, basketball has become a very popular sport, now being broadcasted nationally with millions of viewers.
One of the most popular sports today, football was also invented in this period. Initially played as a game similar to soccer in the UK, it slowly evolved into the present-day American football. The first modern game was played in 1875 with Harvard University and Tufts University, with people carrying around the ball and tackling. Tufts University won that game 1-0. Following its founding, football soon gained popularity in colleges and universities all over, and almost all colleges had a football team regardless of the college's size. Football games also attracted over 10,000 fans per match as well. Walter Camp is often referred to as the father of modern football, and as a member of the Intercollegiate Football Rules Committee for 48 years, Camp encouraged the adoption of rules differentiating football from rugby and soccer. Professionally, leagues emerged in the 1920s. The NFL, National Football League, was founded in 1920. The American Professional Football Association was founded 2 years later in 1922. Later, in the 1970s, these two leagues merged. The most popular sport today, football originated in the Gilded Age, slowly evolving into the sport it is today.
The last major sport of the Gilded Age was the game of baseball. Baseball during this time was considered America's pastime. After the Civil War, baseball was able to switch from a child's game to a man's game as it became more popular among soldiers and spread once the war was over. In 1871, the Cincinnati Red Stockings were the first professional team to be established. The National League was later founded in 1876, which was the start of Major League Baseball. This World Series occurred in 1903 between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Boston Americans, which Boston won. The game featured two notable Hall of Famers, Honus Wagner and Cy Young. game of baseball off the field in the Gilded Age was vastly different from how it is today. There were no A-Rod contracts during this time, and players were paid very little and had very minimal rights in their contracts due to reserve clauses which granted power to the owners over the player. The Brotherhood of Professional Baseball Players was created, which acted as a union for the players, and was the first sports labor union in America. Baseball was also similar to America during this time with the issue of race. Many players, including most notably Cap Anson, would refuse to play against black players, and in 1888, team owners had a gentleman's agreement which stated that teams would not sign African American players. This would stay until Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947. The non-sport activity in the Gilded Age was through amusement parks. Trolley companies built these parks on the outskirts of towns with the hopes of attracting customers and their families by using the trolley system. Coney Island was the first major park, which was located in Brooklyn, New York, and featured the first roller coaster in the world in 1884. Circuses also appeared around the US and were headed by a man named P.T. Barnum, who would use his showmanship and advertising abilities to create an empire in the industry.